Hi, I'm Miley Oye. Moving forward in our series of videos on hack site recovery, you're now ready to assess the damage. This video is tailored to site owners who received a message that their site was suspected of being hacked with spam or phishing pages. The video assumes you have a technical background in viewing source code and running commands in the terminal. If this description doesn't fit you, please visit our Help for Hacked Sites to locate more appropriate assistance. For the rest of us, we're joined with Tiffany Oberoi, a software engineer from our web spam team. Tiffany is here to share her expertise in fighting spam.
Hi everyone!
Tiffany, great to have you here. Thus far, we've quarantined our site, verified ownership in Webmaster Tools, viewed the hack site message, and are ready to assess the damage caused by the cybercriminal.
Sounds good.
Thanks. It seems that assessing the damage on our hack site is comparable to a doctor needing to understand the full symptoms and progression of an infection before actually prescribing treatment. And once you help us with this crucial step, the following steps will help to identify the vulnerability that allowed the hacker to gain entry, then clean up our site, and last, request a review to return to a healthy display of our site in search results. For now, though, the goal of this video is to assess the damage and gain insight to the hacker's intent. Can you help guide viewers through this process?
Of course. As you just mentioned, having insight about the hacker's motivation is important during the recovery process. It helps highlight things to look for in our investigation and will point to the proper method of cleanup. Therefore, before we begin assessing the damage, the higher level question to keep in mind is, what was the hacker trying to do? In many cases, the cybercriminal was financially motivated. However, instead of actually building a strong business, the cybercriminal tried to unfairly benefit from the good reputation of vulnerable sites on the web. For example, she may have added visible text and advertisements on your site to bring your users to her online business. Or she may have added hidden text and links. Hidden text is real text on the page, but coded in a way that makes it difficult for humans to see with their browser. On the other hand, automated programs, like search engines, continue to process the text without a problem. This means that the user-hidden spammy content on the page can easily surface in search results. The hacker may also use the deceptive tactic called cloaking to add her spammy content on your site, but avoid being detected by search engines. Cloaking refers to the practice of presenting one set of content to users, but a completely different set of content to search engines, all for the same URL. The text isn't coded to be visibly hidden, it's actually programmed so that regular users are never served the spammy content. Only the search engines are served spam. Cloaking makes it difficult for site owners to diagnose the hack because whenever they view a web page, everything looks normal. Again, it's only the search engines that are served pages with spammy text and links. So far, these tactics involve a cybercriminal using your site's good pages to rank and display the spammy content. Another tactic is using your site not to host the spammy content, but to boost the search engine rankings for their online business.
It's easy to understand that a cybercriminal would be motivated to hack a site so that their content can act as a parasite on good pages. But can you explain more about how hacking my site could actually improve the ranking of pages on a cybercriminal site?
Sure. One ranking signal is the quantity and quality of inbound links to a page. This increases the page's trust and authority because adding a link to an external resource is like vouching for the content.
Right. The cybercriminal is trying to manipulate the ranking signal of merited links by hacking good websites and then adding links back to her own.
Yes, and these can even be hidden links, just like the hidden text we discussed earlier. Being hidden can make assessing the damage more difficult. Later, I'll show a few techniques that reveal otherwise hidden content that was cloaked to search engines.
Okay, so thus far you've covered that the cybercriminal might have been financially motivated to hack my site to show spammy advertisements or often hidden spammy links in text.
Yes, and there's even more. In other cases of hacked sites, again, motivated by greed, the cybercriminal tries to steal sensitive user information. For example, she might be after login credentials and personal information of you or your users. One nefarious technique of this sort is called phishing. Phishing is when the hacker publishes pages on your site that are imposters of legitimate businesses, like a banking website, to steal the login and password from users who fail to notice the difference. Then, as one could imagine, once the cybercriminal has possession of logins and passwords, they're able to wreak havoc by logging into sites as if they were the true user. If your site was compromised with phishing content, you'll likely have seen a message in Webmaster Tools. In this case, you'll also have further actions to perform later in the recovery process.
Thanks, Tiffany. To summarize, it appears that sites are most often hacked for financial gain. The hacker may either add new visible spammy advertisements, hidden content or links to manipulate rankings, or pages that steal personal information by phishing.
Correct. And it's easier to determine which, or all of the above, is the hacker's motive once we investigate the damage inflicted. Just to prepare everyone, this investigation is both technical and fairly lengthy. I've broken the investigation into 3 categories of actions. We'll begin by reviewing the suspected hacking message in Webmaster Tools, paying close attention to each URL listed in the message. Next, we'll perform a site colon query to get a sense of the scope of the visible effects. Last, we'll end with detailed investigation of the damage by logging in directly to our server.
Yes, and if your site is currently offline, go ahead and turn it back online for this exercise.
Alright everyone, let's start the first action in our investigation by reviewing each URL listed in the Webmaster Tools message. I'll cover several methods to help confirm the hacker's damage. These methods are a cache colon Google search, using fetch as Google, and last, wget or curl. By confirming the damage now, we'll have an easier time with the in-depth investigation we'll be performing later. Remember, for every URL on the site that you investigate, keep detailed notes of the damage, as this list will aid in cleanup. Let's imagine the first URL listed in the Webmaster Tools notice of suspected hacking is www.example.com/page.html. It may seem natural to want to see each of the example hacked pages in a browser, but we warn against doing so because the cybercriminal might have recently configured the page to distribute malware. This means just opening the page in your browser could damage your computer. Besides, viewing a hacked page in a browser often isn't that helpful during an investigation. This is because, as mentioned earlier, hackers may use the tactic of cloaking so that the hacked page would still look normal to you. To see the damage caused by the cybercriminal, the site owner often needs the ability to see what the search engine sees. Which brings us to the first technique, to confirm the cybercriminal's damage. This is to perform a Google search for the cached version of a hacked URL. The cached version is a copy of a page that Google stores for possible display in search results. The cached version can help you see what the search engine saw. To view the cached version, type cache, then a colon, then the URL. There should be no spaces so that the query looks like one long word. I've done this with our first URL, cache://www.example.com/page.html. If Google has a cached version of the page, you might notice that the cached page shows the hacker's undesirable content. But if not, try clicking text only. The second method that's very useful when investigating pages for spam is to use the Fetch as Google feature in Webmaster Tools. Log into Webmaster Tools, select your website, then Health, then Fetch as Google. Here, you'll type the remainder of the URL that was hacked, starting after your listed site. For instance, for my first URL, I'll just add page.html. Keep the selection of web for the web crawler, and then hit Fetch. This action signals Google's crawler, a part of the Google search engine, to fetch the page. This feature uncovers exactly what the search engine sees in real time. If your site is online and you correctly entered the URL, the result will likely show success. Go ahead and click the link to see the contents of the page. Spammy text and links inserted by the cybercriminal might be obvious as you scan the content. Fetch as Google can reveal content that would otherwise be hidden text or never even served to users due to cloaking. If you don't notice anything spammy right away, you can try searching for spammy words like cheap, free, casino, or amateur. Insertion of drug names and online poker terms is a common hacker tactic. If you still don't notice any damage, be aware that the cybercriminal may have obfuscated their code, so the text looks like this: eval, base64, decode, and some gibberish that, when executed, performs spammy actions. And if you still can't detect the damage to the page, it's possible the hacker used even more tricky tactics. For example, she may have configured your site to only serve the spammy page at certain times of the day, or to only show the spammy page when a user clicks from a search result. or to only show the page to users of a particular browser. The third method, that's very useful when investigating pages for spam in cases such as these, are to use one of two freely available tools, wget and curl. Both wget and curl make HTTP requests, and they can be configured to include referrer or browser information in case that helps replicate the behavior of your hacked site. Performing a search for wget or curl should return resources explaining their usage in more detail.
Tiffany, to recap, the first action when assessing the damage of spam is to investigate each of the URL examples provided in the Webmaster Tools hacked message. The investigative techniques include a cache colon search, fetches Google, and wget or curl.
Yes, and after investigating the URL examples, let's now gain a broader sense of the infected pages with our second action, performing a site colon search on Google. Type site, then colon, then your site, most often your domain. Like before, there should be no spaces in the query term, so it looks like a single word. The site colon operator returns results limited to the pages that match your site. If the first page of search results looks clean, please click to more pages of results to check for additional evidence of the cybercriminal's harm. You can also add additional query terms to your site colon search. For example, because hacks often contain spammy words like pharmaceutical products, try searching for site:example.com, cheap or free or Viagra or Cialis or casino or amateur.
At this point, having performed action number 2, the site colon search, there are likely more suspicious URLs uncovered. To investigate, use the same techniques as before, performing a cache colon search, using fetches Google, or trying wget or curl for each of the suspicious URLs.
Exactly. Confirming that spam exists on these individual pages is helpful in getting a sense of the hacker's motivation and the effects of her damage. But for more detailed damage assessment, we'll need to move to a third action, taking a closer look at the file system.
Definitely. Since assessing the damage to your file system is similar whether your site is hacked with spam, phishing pages, or malware, file system damage assessment will be an individual video. Tiffany, can you also join us in this video?
I look forward to it.
Everyone, investigating your file system is a necessary final action in this step, assess the damage. Tiffany, thank you for all your work so far. We'll see the rest of you in file system damage assessment.